She don't like the chili bowl mole. Mama don't like that. No, Mama don't. Mama, say hi.
We think that we're talking to a teacher right here.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah.
Justice Society of America #1, written as a continuous story near the end of World War II. The skies over Berlin were black with smoke, the final fires of a global war burning themselves out. But a greater fire, older, crueler, and insatiable, was only just beginning to rise. Beneath the cracked marble floor of an abandoned Nazi stronghold, ancient glyphs shimmered as the chanting of a madman echoed off the cold stone walls. Vandal Savage stood before a great altar, his hands raised in invocation, the blood of a fallen soldier staining his fingers. He had lived 100 lives. Empires had risen and crumbled under his gaze, and tonight, he intended to claim eternity. High above, soaring faster than sound, Superman descended like a meteor, his cape catching the wind like a crimson banner. Brandon Routh's eyes gleamed with determination as he landed with a thunderous crash, the rubble around him turning to dust. "I've heard enough of your speeches, Savage," Superman said, his voice steady and low. "This ends tonight." But Vandal Savage only smiled, his eyes ancient and hungry. "You fools still believe you can stop history." A streak of red and lightning zipped through the hallway to a sudden stop beside Superman. John Wesley Shipp grinned beneath the polished silver helmet. "Sorry I'm late. Ran into a few tiger tanks on the way. Don't worry, they won't be bothering anyone anymore." From the shadows, another figure emerged. Michael Keaton's Batman, gaunt and grim, his cape dragging like the wings of a vulture. He said nothing, but his mere presence sent a ripple of unease through the air. Wonder Woman, Linda Carter in her regal glory, stepped forward next. Her shield gleamed with the dust of battle, and her tiara sat bloodied but unbowed. "Let him finish his little ritual," she said with a sneer. "It won't save him from justice." The room filled with more footsteps. The Justice Society had arrived. Alan Scott, Green Lantern, glowed emerald as he floated beside them, Doug Penton's stern features illuminated by his ring's light. Beside him, Johnny Thunder, Ethan Embry, all youthful energy, muttered to himself nervously before shouting, "Say you." In a burst of pink lightning, the Thunderbolt materialized, a cosmic force of nature with the voice of Seth Green, all sarcasm and sparkle. Dr. Fate descended from above, his golden helm aglow. Pierce Brosnan's voice was calm, yet echoing with otherworldly power. "Vandal Savage is not just summoning demons," he intoned. "He's trying to rewrite reality itself." From behind a collapsed column, Hawkman, Michael Shanks with his wings unfurled and mace in hand, let out a cry and charged into battle as the first of Savage's loyal undead soldiers began to rise from the tombs beneath the fortress. Starman, Joel McHale, glowing with cosmic energy, fired blasts of starlight at the skeletal warriors. "I thought the war was over," he quipped. "Why do they never update the enemy list?" "Because evil doesn't retire," said Mr. Terrific, played by Adam Sandler, flipping through a handheld device. "It just changes hats." The Atom, Glenn Hoffman's determined Al Pratt, shrunk down and darted under a hulking undead brute, delivering a punch that sent it crashing into a wall. Our man, Lou Ferrigno Jr., muscles coiled like a steel spring, checked the hourglass vial at his neck and then charged with the strength of 10 men. Green Arrow, Stephen Amell in his Earth 2 glory, clad in a more medieval green and feathered hat, let arrows fly, each one imbued with explosive tips courtesy of Dr. Midnight's chemistry. Henry Thomas's Midnight lobbed flash bombs and directed traffic from the shadows with the precision of a battlefield surgeon. Black Canary, Katie Lotz, let out a cry that shattered stone and undead alike, the banshee scream echoing across the ruins. Wildcat, Brian Staff, fists wrapped and bloody, grinned as he pummeled through a wave of cultists. This is the part where I remind everyone I don't have powers. Just grit and 2 fists. "Save the speech for the finish line, Ted," said Sandman, Ken Lawson's dreamlike vigilante in his trench coat and gas mask, casting a sleeping gas cloud that put half the undead to rest. Then came Spectre, Emmett J. Scanlon as the living embodiment of divine vengeance. He emerged from the darkness, his voice more thunder than speech. "Savage," he boomed, "your crimes reach beyond this world." But Savage was no longer entirely himself. His skin cracked with glowing runes. The blood ritual was working. A portal yawned open behind him, revealing a realm of nightmares, a place even Dr. Fate hesitated to name. Beasts older than Earth slithered behind that veil, waiting for a new master. "I am evolution," Savage snarled. "You're fossils." "No," said Superman, eyes blazing. "We're the Foundation." And with that, the final battle erupted. Green Lantern's constructs wrapped around the portal, trying to seal it shut as Dr. Fate chanted counterspells. The Flash moved faster than light, disarming traps and redirecting energy beams. Wonder Woman and Hawkman kept Savage occupied, their blades clashing against his glowing skin. Batman worked in the shadows, disabling his relic-powered machinery, while Atom and Hourman dismantled Savage's support from the inside. Johnny Thunder shouted more commands to Thunderbolt, who bent reality like taffy, reshaping physics to hinder the cult. But Savage grew stronger. He grabbed Superman by the throat, his ancient strength augmented by eldritch power. "You're nothing but a moment," Savage hissed. "And you," Superman replied, eyes glowing, "are a mistake." A green arrow embedded itself in Savage's side. Black Canary's scream followed it, staggering the immortal just long enough for Dr. Midnight to throw a concoction that weakened his connection to the portal. That's when Spectre stepped in. With a hand of white fire, he gripped Savage's soul, not just his body, and began to pull. Savage screamed as light and shadow tore him apart, the portal writhing and collapsing behind him. "Your reign ends here," the Spectre said, and with a final cry, Vandal Savage was cast into the void between realities. Silence fell. Dust settled. The war, both earthly and cosmic, was over. Superman stood beside Wonder Woman and Batman, the three icons looking out at the rising sun through the broken fortress wall. "We've won," said Jay Garrick, smiling. "No," Batman corrected grimly. "We've bought time, that's all." The others gathered behind him. Heroes of legend. Green Lantern's light faded as he descended. Johnny Thunder wiped sweat from his brow. Thunderbolt blinked out with a pop. Dr. Fate sealed the remnants of the portal with a wave of his hand. Starman and Sandman nodded to one another silently. "We've kept the world safe," said Wonder Woman, gently placing a hand on Batman's shoulder. "For now," Superman added. And in the glow of dawn, the Justice Society of America stood united, battle-worn but unbowed. Protectors of an age, sentinels of truth. The world would never know the battle they had fought beneath the ruins of war, but it would feel the peace they had won. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, Vandal Savage screamed, but no one was listening. Justice Society of America number 1, end.
Okay, before I go to the next story, if you want to spice up your chicken from Wendy's, like your chicken nuggets and your chicken patty, put some salt and pepper on it. Makes that shit taste delicious.
Superman, Man of Tomorrow number 1, written as a continuous story in prose format. The stars above Krypton burned bright, but none so fiercely as the heart of Jor-El. He stood at the edge of his collapsing world, cradling his infant son. Julian Sands wore the regal robes of a Kryptonian scientist, his face a mask of sorrow and hope. Beside him, Lara Lorvan, Helen Slater, graceful and composed, kissed her child's forehead, whispering soft words he would never remember. The planet cracked. The core boiled. They had minutes. Jor-El placed the baby into the small, sleek spacecraft and sealed it shut with trembling hands.
But I changed that
"You will
later
live,"
on.
he whispered. "You will outlast us. You will be a light." A tremor shook the palace. The skies above Krypton turned to fire, and in a burst of white-blue propulsion, the tiny pod blasted off, streaking across the cosmos as the world behind it perished in silence. It crashed through Earth's atmosphere like a fallen star and landed in a Kansas cornfield just before dawn. Jonathan Kent, played by John Schneider, was first to the wreckage, shotgun in hand. Martha Kent, played by Annette O'Toole, clutched his arm as they found the vessel, still glowing. The pod opened, and inside, swaddled in alien fabrics, was a baby. Lee Quigley's cherubic face blinked up at them, unfazed by the smoke. Jonathan dropped the gun. "Martha, he's just a boy." "No," she said, kneeling beside him. "He's our boy." Years passed. Clark Kent grew fast, strong, curious. In the golden light of Smallville's mornings, he played in open fields, raced tractors, and sometimes broke them with a single touch. As a teenager, Tom Welling, strong-jawed and unsure, he began to understand his differences. He could hear storms miles away. He could lift trucks. He could see through walls. One day, after saving a school bus from plunging into a river, he asked his father, "Why me?" Jonathan didn't flinch. "Because you were sent here for a reason. Not to hide, but to help." In time, Clark Kent left Smallville for Metropolis. The Daily Planet building stood like a monolith against the skyline, and inside its buzzing bullpen, Clark, now an adult played by Tyler Hoechlin, adjusted his glasses, typed articles, and dodged questions about his love life. Lois Lane, played by Elizabeth Tulloch, was fearless and sharp, and already halfway through her next expose. "Come on, Smallville," she said with a grin. "You can't keep writing about zoning permits forever. There's a world out there. You ever think of doing something bold?" Jimmy Olsen, Mechad Brooks, camera in hand, snapped a photo. "Bold gets you front page, boring gets you coffee duty." Clark chuckled softly. "I'll take the boring, for now." But elsewhere in the city, behind a veil of steel and ambition, LexCorp towered above the skyline like a second sun. Inside, Lex Luthor, John Cryer, bald, brilliant, and smirking, watched surveillance footage of Superman lifting a train off its tracks, stopping a missile midair, catching a plummeting airliner. "He's not a man," Lex whispered. "He's a threat, and threats must be neutralized." Across the room, a figure stepped from the shadows. Conduit. Played by Rowan Kahn, he was lean, scarred, and wired with technology. An old enemy from Smallville. Someone who had known Clark Kent before the cape. "You'll get your chance," Lex told him. "Let's test just how indestructible this Superman really is." Later that day, chaos erupted at Centennial Station. Conduit had stormed in with his tech-enhanced armor, holding dozens hostage beneath the marble arches. Electricity sparked from his arms. "Bring me the alien," he snarled, "or they all die." In the blink of an eye, a gust of wind swept through the station. A blue blur slammed into Conduit, sending him flying across the terminal. When he hit the wall, it cracked like plaster. The people screamed, but not in fear. Superman hovered above the wreckage, cape billowing behind him, sunlight gleaming off his chest. His eyes locked onto Conduit. "It's over," he said. "Not for me," Conduit growled, lunging forward with a blade of kryptonite. It slashed across Superman's chest, and for a moment, the Man of Steel faltered. But only for a moment. With a roar, Superman grabbed Conduit and flew him straight up through the roof and into the sky, past the clouds, until the villain gasped from lack of air. Then he plummeted back down, landing hard on the pavement of a cordoned-off street where police swarmed him. Inside the crowd, Jimmy snapped a photo. Lois scribbled a headline. Back at LexCorp, Lex Luthor watched the footage from his private lab. The screen froze on Superman's face. "You're not invincible," Lex whispered. Behind him, a metallic claw sealed a vial containing blood scraped from the kryptonite blade, green-tinged and glowing faintly. Lex smiled. "I just need the right formula." Credits: Superman Clark Kent, Tyler Hoechlin, Lois Lane, Elizabeth Tulloch, Jimmy Olsen, Mechad Brooks, Lex Luthor, John Cryer, Conduit, Rowan Kahn, Teenage Clark Kent, Tom Welling, Baby Kal-El, Lee Quigley, Jor-El, Julian Sands, Lara Lorvan, Helen Slater, Jonathan Kent, John Schneider, Martha Kent, Annette O'Toole, Superman, Man of Tomorrow #1, end.
Also, with the cast, I just picked actors who played the role in the past. So, basically, this is some a weird movie universe thing. So, yeah. I mean, my idea for this was that the Nolanverse was never made, but Nolan would be the person who wrote majority of the Batman films when I was doing it as a movie universe thing, so yeah. But we won't get to a just Batman story in this video, so yeah.
Green Lantern the movie, written as a continuous story in prose format. The void of space was silent, but war never was. A crimson streak tore through the darkness. Abin Sur, one of the greatest of the Green Lantern Corps, was fleeing. His body was battered, his once vibrant emerald light dimming. Behind him swirled an impossibility of fear, a living nightmare. Parallax. Abin's spacecraft, barely intact, careened into a wormhole. The monster behind him roared with 1,000 voices, but for the moment, it could not follow. The ship hurled toward the nearest yellow sun system, toward Earth. He crashed hard into the rocky shores of a coast, a dying comet in a sleeping world. The purple-skinned alien, motion captured and voiced by Tamara Morrison, crawled from the wreckage. His power ring glowed faintly, searching, searching. You have the ability to overcome great fear, it said, seeking out a successor. Miles away, Hal Jordan woke in a cold sweat. Hal Jordan was a test pilot, reckless, charming, defiant. Played by Ryan Reynolds, he lived life with the same kind of thrill that came from dancing just past the edge of danger. Today, he was late, again, for a test flight with Ferris Aircraft. Carol Ferris, played by Blake Lively, stood at the hangar, arms crossed, eyes blazing. You're not invincible, Hal, Hal winked. Not invincible, just talented. But his performance in the air was nearly disastrous. Pushing the limits, disobeying protocol, ejecting just before crashing the jet in a public relations nightmare. Later that night, haunted by guilt and failure, Hal drove aimlessly into the desert, drawn by something he didn't understand. There, among the jagged rocks, he found the dying Abin Sur. You are chosen, Abin said, the green ring floating to Hal. Hal Jordan took it. A flash of light, a surge of pain, a new beginning. The next morning, Hal awoke to a strange green lantern in his apartment. The ring, glowing, pulled him into the sky and out of the atmosphere, across galaxies, until he crashed onto the surface of an alien world, away. There, among towering spires of impossible design, Hal met two strange beings, Kilowog, voiced by Michael Clark Duncan, and Tomar-Re, voiced by Jeffrey Rush. They were unlike anything Hal had ever seen, bulky, alien, but patient. Kilowog was gruff, a warrior teacher. Tomar-Re, philosophical and kind. This is the home of the Green Lantern Corps, Tomar-Re explained. Protectors of the universe. You wear the ring now, that makes you one of us. Hal was overwhelmed, but fascinated. He was shown a great monument of green energy, a tribute to the first lantern. Alan Scott. Played by Doug Pinton, he appeared in a glowing memory, wielding a different kind of power from a time before the Corps existed. But his light faded, Tomar-Re said. Now it's your turn. Hal's training began. And his instructor, Sinestro. Played by Mark Strong, he was elegant, severe, confident, and without patience for Hal's earthborn sarcasm. You think this is a joke? He snapped after Hal fumbled a construct. It kind of is, Hal replied. I've been here for 5 minutes and already got yelled at by a pig and a fish. Sinestro's eyes narrowed. You won't last a week. But Hal pushed through. He learned. He struggled. He made constructs, swords, planes, shields. The ring responded to willpower, and Hal Jordan had will. But even as he grew, a darkness gathered back home. On Earth, Hector Hammond, played by Peter Sarsgaard, was a reclusive scientist, handpicked to examine the alien body of Abin Sur, recovered in secret. But something inside the corpse infected him, a fragment of Parallax, fear incarnate. Hector's mind expanded, his body mutated. His envy of Hal Jordan, always buried deep, became monstrous. Carol Ferris became the target. One night at a Ferris Aerospace event, Hector snapped. He held the guests hostage, his mind twisted with newfound power, lifting people with thought alone. He gets to be a hero, he growled. I get forgotten. Then the windows shattered and a blur of green crashed into the room. Hal Jordan stood tall, ring glowing. Let them go, Hector. This isn't you. Oh, it's me, Hector hissed. The real me. The one you never looked at twice. They clashed, telekinetic rage against Emerald Will. The fight tore through the airfield. Hal shielded civilians, created a battering ram, slammed Hector through a hangar wall. But Hector screamed and a wave of fear energy erupted, knocking Hal unconscious. When Hal came to, Carol was gone. He returned to Oa, demanding help. Parallax is real, he shouted. It infected Hector. It's coming. Sinestro frowned. Parallax is myth. It's not, Hal said. It's feeding on fear. It's growing. Sinestro turned to the Guardians, the ancient masters of the Corps. Cold and blue, they listened without emotion. Parallax has been imprisoned for millennia, one said. But behind closed doors, another Guardian, Krona, played by Clancy Brown, disagreed. He released Parallax. The creature, voiced by Nolan North, emerged as a black cloud of nightmare and smoke, its face shifting in torment. It consumed Krona, bones shattering in the blink of an eye. By the time the other Guardians reacted, it was too late. They forced Parallax back into the central power battery, but the damage was done. During the chaos, Sinestro discovered a ring, golden and glowing. Yellow, forged from fear. He slipped it on. Back on Earth, Hal found Carol in a ruined lab, her face lit by flickering lights. Hector floated above her, eyes wild. "You were always the favorite," he whispered. Hal crashed through the ceiling. "Let her go." "I'll take everything you have," Hector shrieked. "No," Hal said. "You'll take this." He unleashed a construct, an F-35 fighter jet made of pure will, racing it at Hector and diving in behind. The blast knocked Hector through the lab. Hal pinned him with chains, a green cage forming around him. Carol ran to Hal. "You came back." "I never left," he said softly. The next day, Hector Hammond sat in a high-security coma. The world thought it had witnessed a hallucination. Only Carol and Hal knew the truth. But on Oa, in a private chamber, Sinestro admired his new ring. The yellow ring pulsed, once with fear, once with promise. Parallax had been trapped, but not defeated. Credits: Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, Ryan Reynolds; Carol Ferris, Blake Lively; Abin Sur, Tamura Morrison, CGI motion capture; Kilowog, Michael Clark Duncan, CGI motion capture and voice; Tamar Ree, Jeffrey Rush, CGI motion capture and voice; Alan Scott, Doug Pinton, Sinestro, Mark Strong, Hector Hammond, Peter Sarsgaard; Krona, Clancy Brown, CGI motion capture and voice; Parallax, Nolan North. Green Lantern the movie, end.
And now the last one for this video. Na, na, na. Na, na, na. Na, 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 na.
Superman 2, written as a continuous story in prose format. Metropolis pulsed with a renewed rhythm. The city was thriving, recovering from its brushes with destruction, and at the heart of it stood Clark Kent, humble, kind, always present. He walked beside Lois Lane, sharing coffee and laughter beneath the neon glow of the Daily Planet sign. They weren't just colleagues anymore, they were something more. Lois had peeled back the layers and seen the man beneath the cape, and Clark had found someone who saw him not as a god, but as human. "Are you ever gonna let me drive on date night?" Lois teased, sipping her drink. Clark grinned. "I let you drive once. You nearly took out a street lamp." She elbowed him gently. That street lamp came out of nowhere. Their peace didn't last. A loud crack echoed from Centennial Park, followed by a panicked scream. Clark's eyes sharpened behind his glasses. Jimmy Olsen, camera bag bouncing behind him, was stuck in the branches of a massive oak tree, having attempted to get a perfect shot from above. The branch cracked under him. "Help!" And then, like a blur of wind, Superman was there. Clark's clothes disappeared in a whirl of speed, replaced by red and blue as he caught Jimmy just before the branch broke. "I got you, Jimmy," Superman said gently, lowering him safely to the ground. Jimmy blinked. "Every time I try to get a Pulitzer shot, I nearly die." Maybe try ground level next time. But elsewhere in Metropolis, beneath the polished steel towers of LexCorp, darkness was brewing. Lex Luthor stood in a lab lined with containment chambers. Each one glowed with eerie green light. Inside them, clones. Not perfect ones, mockeries of Superman. Twisted versions of the hero, nearly complete except for one that floated in a murky humming pod. Its face was similar but vacant. Skin pale, eyes unfocused. Lex turned to his scientists. "Release the batch. All of them. Except that one. But sir, the last one isn't fully stabilized." "I know, that one needs guidance." Lex turned. "Bring in Metallo." Steel footsteps echoed into the lab. Metallo, a half-man, half-machine, powered by kryptonite and rage, stepped forward. "I'm not your soldier," he growled. "No," Lex replied, "but you are their commander." The next day, the clones descended upon Metropolis like a storm. They wore distorted versions of the Superman suit, some too small, others grotesquely oversized. Their skin was unnervingly pale, almost bleach white. Their eyes were blank, their movements unnatural. Superman soared into the sky, striking the first clone midair. Another lunged at him, teeth bared like a wild animal. He fought valiantly, but the swarm was endless. Amidst the chaos, Metallo arrived, crashing through a city bus like a juggernaut, powered by the very thing that could kill Superman. Kryptonite pulsed from Metallo's chest, sapping Superman's strength. The hero fought, but with each hit, His suit tore until his iconic red and blue was left in tatters. He retreated. He needed space. A plan. The Fortress of Solitude welcomed him like a quiet breath. The crystals glowed softly as he knelt, bruised and exhausted. An AI version of his mother appeared, guiding him to a sealed chamber. Kal-El, she said, her voice calm and warm. I wove this for you, for a moment when your strength was tested beyond your body's limits. Inside the chamber, a new suit, sleek, darker in hue with subtle Kryptonian armor woven beneath it. He donned it and stood tall again, reborn in steel and will. He returned to the city with fury in his eyes. The clones were different now, less human, their skin white as chalk, veins glowing faintly. They had begun to decay, to rot under the weight of artificial purpose. Superman tore through them with powerful strikes and compassionate restraint. Each blow was a reminder that he was fighting twisted reflections of himself. He found Metallo in the heart of the city, leveling buildings like dominoes. You should have stayed gone, Metallo snarled. Superman struck like thunder. Their battle cracked concrete and shattered steel. Every hit felt like a mountain falling. Superman lifted Metallo into the sky and, with one last surge of strength, smashed him into the river below. Electricity hissed. Metallo was gone. But Superman wasn't finished. He returned to LexCorp. There was something else. Deeper in the facility, behind reinforced doors, he found a chamber labeled in bold, scratched letters, Bizarro. Inside, a shape moved. A door hissed open, and the pale creature stepped forward. He looked like Superman, but wrong. Muscles uneven, eyes empty. Mouth trembling. Me, Superman, the creature said. Me save world. Superman tensed. What are you? Me you. The creature lunged. The battle was tragic. Bizarro moved with brute strength, but without control. Superman didn't want to hurt him. This wasn't evil. This was confusion. Fear. He tried to reach him. You don't have to do this. You can stop. But Bizarro couldn't listen. Not yet. Superman pinned him gently, never striking with full force. At last, the creature fell unconscious. The government arrived in silence, taking him away in reinforced carriers. As they loaded him up, Bizarro opened his eyes for just a moment. I only wanted help, he whispered. Superman turned away, guilt and sorrow thick in his chest. That night, back at his apartment, Clark sat alone. The city was quiet again, the lights blinking in the distance. He sipped coffee, barely tasting it. The memories lingered. Then footsteps. He looked up. Nothing. Then a voice. Dark. Gritty. From the shadows. Kal-El. Clark Kent. The Superman. The last son of Krypton. Clark rose slowly. I'm putting together a team, the voice said. I hope you'll join me. Clark turned. Batman stood in the shadows, cape still, face like stone. Then cut to black. Post-credit scene. Somewhere far from Metropolis, a barren coastal field lay silent. A battered trident jutted from the earth, buried deep, surrounded by observers trying and failing to remove it. Beside it, something else, a sword. Jagged, ancient, impossibly heavy. No one could lift it either. 2 weapons, 2 legacies, waiting. Credits: Superman, Clark Kent, clones Bizarro, Tyler Hoechlin, Lois Lane, Elizabeth Tulloch, Jimmy Olsen, Mechad Brooks, Lex Luthor, John Cryer, Metallo, Brian Austin Green, Batman, Christian Bale. Superman 2, end.
Anyways, the Justice Society one takes place on Earth 2, but I was going to have some characters be also on Earth 1 who were in a version of the Justice Society, like Alan Scott. So, with timeline order so far, it goes Earth 2 with Justice Society, and that's it for Earth 2. Then it goes, and then on Earth 1, Superman 1, Green, it would be not Superman. It would go, you could either have it either way with Green Lantern or Superman, but I'm going to do Superman 1, Green Lantern, and then Superman 2. The timeline don't get confusing until sometime later. So, yeah. But that's the end of this video.